Imagine you're starting an ordinary morning. Coffee brewing, phone in your hand, notifications popping up. And then the floor moves. Not a tiny shake, a deep, rolling motion that turns walls into waves and makes the entire building feel alive. That's what people in Western Japan felt when a magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck the Shimane region. Cabinets burst open, alarms went off, and people grabbed door frames and tables as the shaking continued longer than anyone expected. But the real fear didn't end when the first quake stopped. Within minutes, powerful aftershocks hit. Magnitude 5.1, then 5.4. The kind that make your legs weak and your brain wonder, is the next one going to be bigger? Streets cracked, walls split. People were injured by falling objects and sudden falls. Subways and high-speed rail lines shut down. Even miles away, in cities like Hiroshima and Osaka, the ground swayed and chandeliers trembled. There was no tsunami warning, but another danger took center stage: long-lasting shaking in tall buildings. On upper floors, people felt motion for what felt like forever, like standing on the deck of a ship in rough water. Hospitals went into emergency mode. A nearby nuclear power plant was inspected immediately, because in Japan, those words will always bring back memories of 2011. If you follow extreme natural events, seismic science, or real-world survival stories, this is one you don't want to skip. In this video, we're breaking down exactly what happened, how people reacted in those critical first minutes, and why experts say the next week matters most after a quake like this. Ask yourself one thing as you watch. If the ground started shaking wherever you are right now, would you know what to do? Earthquakes don't give countdowns. There's no flashing timer, no dramatic music. 1 second life is normal. The next second, the entire world moves. In Western Japan, that moment arrived at 10:18 a.m. local time, when a magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck beneath the Shimane region, roughly about 6 miles below the surface. At first, it felt like a vibration, the kind you might mistake for a heavy truck passing by. Then it grew. The motion became rolling, powerful, impossible to ignore. Across homes, offices, schools, and hotels, people felt the same instinctive reaction Americans would in California or Alaska. Grab something, brace, and hope it stops. Dishes rattled out of cabinets. TV screens shook. Books slid from shelves. In some places, the shaking was strong enough to knock people off balance and send unsecured furniture crashing to the floor. What made this quake especially frightening wasn't just the strength. It was the duration. The ground didn't just jolt, it kept moving. On upper floors of tall buildings, the motion swung back and forth like standing on a moving dock. Guests in a 12-story hotel reported about 30 seconds of strong shaking. Long enough for panic to spread. Long enough for people to realize, this is serious. Phones lit up with emergency alerts. Public address systems activated. Families ducked under tables, moved away from windows, and held on. In some neighborhoods, the power flickered. In others, water sloshed out of bathtubs and fish tanks. Even residents used to earthquakes admitted this one felt different. And in that strange silence right after the main shaking stopped, another thought traveled through the population. The thought everyone in quake zones knows too well. This might not be over yet.
Hey, quindi hai detto terremoto? Fred, you really don't care at all? Okay, but we're really moving.
For many people, the scariest part of an earthquake isn't the first shake. It's what comes after, when you're already nervous, already alert, already exhausted, and then the ground moves again. That's exactly what happened in Japan. Roughly 10 minutes after the main 6.4 quake, another jolt struck. Magnitude 5.1. It wasn't as strong, but it was sharp and sudden. People who had just stood up sat back down. Those who had walked outside stopped moving. Heart rates spiked all over the region. Before anyone could fully calm down, a second one followed. Magnitude 5.4 in the same area. At that point, it stopped feeling like a single incident and started feeling like a sequence. In cities like Matsue, Sakai Minato, and beyond, residents described the same sensation. The ground wouldn't quite settle. Lamps swayed. Ceiling signs in stores moved back and forth. Tall buildings continued to gently rock long after the shaking stopped, because large structures flex rather than sit perfectly still. On upper floors, people reported motion sickness and dizziness, like being stuck on a ship that never fully docks. Meanwhile, authorities issued the warning seismologists repeat worldwide. The next few days are critical. Aftershocks can continue for a week or more, and any one of them can be strong enough to cause additional damage, trigger landslides, or bring down structures already weakened by the first quake. Families made decisions Americans in quake zones know well. Keep shoes by the bed, secure heavy items, avoid elevators, and sleep lightly. Many people stayed dressed, bags packed, ready to leave if shaking returned. The psychological weight of aftershocks is real. Every vibration, every truck passing by, every small movement can feel like the start of something bigger. And in Western Japan, everyone understood the same reality. The danger isn't only the earthquake itself, it's not knowing when the next one will hit. Once the shaking stopped long enough for people to move around, the picture of what happened began to emerge. In Matsue, the capital of Shimane Prefecture, emergency calls came in almost immediately. Several people were taken to hospitals after falling or being hit by objects that came loose during the quake. Cracks appeared in walls. Roof tiles slid off. Inside homes, cabinets opened themselves and sent dishes crashing to the floor. In Sakai Minato, across the prefectural line in Tottori, police reported long fractures running through sections of roadway. Those aren't just cosmetic, they're red flags for potential landslides, especially with rain already in the forecast. A collapsed stone wall blocked traffic in one district, reminding everyone how even small structural failures can cause big problems when people are trying to move or evacuate. Farther away from the epicenter, people still felt it. In Fukuyama, in Hiroshima Prefecture, more than 50 miles from where the quake began, residents reported injuries from losing balance or being struck by falling items. The shaking reached parts of Osaka and Kyoto as well, proving again how energy travels through the ground far beyond the map circle around the epicenter. For the people who lived through it, the experience went beyond broken glass or cracked pavement. It was kids crying because their rooms wouldn't stop moving. It was elderly residents needing help navigating debris-covered floors. It was families gathering in doorways, hallways, or parking lots, because those felt like the safest places to be. Japan is one of the most earthquake-ready nations on Earth, with strict building codes and constant drills. Even so, every strong quake is personal. It turns familiar spaces into uncertain terrain, and reminds everyone that no matter how prepared we are, the Earth still writes the rules. Earthquakes don't just strike open ground, they strike where people already are. In elevators, hospital rooms, subway platforms, and hotel hallways. That's what made this quake in western Japan especially unnerving. In a 12-story hotel in Sakai Minato, guests described the same surreal moment. The building didn't just tremble, it swayed, like standing on the top deck of a tall ship. Alarms sounded. Some guests screamed, others froze. But the hotel's staff followed safety protocol. People stayed inside rooms, moved away from windows, and waited for instructions. The shaking lasted around 30 seconds, long enough for adrenaline to do its work, and for everyone to realize how high floors magnify motion. In hospitals across Shimane and Tottori, the response was immediate. Emergency mode switched on. Staff checked oxygen lines, power systems, and patients who could be at risk from falls. At Yasugi Daiichi Hospital, workers reported strong and continuous shaking through the morning, but thankfully, no power loss, which can be life or death in medical facilities. Tottori University Hospital set up an internal disaster response center, not knowing how many more patients or aftershocks were coming. Then there was transportation. The Sanyo Shinkansen high-speed rail temporarily shut down while inspections were carried out, after a power failure between stations was believed to be linked to the quake. Local railways and some highways paused service as crews checked tracks, tunnels, and bridges. To riders, it meant uncertainty. Trains stopped, announcements looping, everyone waiting to hear whether it was safe to move again. Moments like these strip away abstraction. An earthquake isn't a headline when you're in a hospital ward, on a train, or 14 floors up. It's the pure realization that the ground, the foundation you trust every day, is suddenly moving. Whenever a strong earthquake hits Japan, the world holds its breath for the same reason: nuclear safety. Not because there was a problem, but because everyone remembers 2011. After this 6.4 quake, inspectors moved quickly to check the Shimane nuclear power plant, located roughly about 20 miles from the epicenter. By late morning, operators reported no abnormalities. Cooling systems were functioning, power was stable, and backup safety equipment was in place. Still, engineers continued detailed inspections, especially on Unit 2, which had only recently been restarted after major safety upgrades. At the national level, the response was immediate. Japan's Prime Minister ordered the creation of an emergency response office, coordinating between meteorologists, transportation agencies, local governments, and hospitals. The message was clear: assess damage fast, restore essential services, and prepare for more shaking. The Japan Meteorological Agency emphasized what seismologists in California and Alaska often say too: the first 72 hours matter most. Across affected communities, people faced practical decisions. Do you sleep upstairs or downstairs? Do you keep your go bag by the door? Do you drive over that cracked road or wait? Schools and train operators inspected buildings, overpasses, and tunnels for hidden structural stress, knowing that earthquakes don't always break things immediately. Sometimes they weaken them first. Authorities warned residents to stay alert for at least a week. Why a week? Because aftershocks strong enough to do real damage, magnitude 5 or higher, are most likely in the days right after the main quake, especially when the crust is already stressed. Rain in the forecast adds another threat: landslides on slopes already shaken loose. So even after the headlines move on, life in Western Japan won't snap back overnight. Recovery from an earthquake isn't just rebuilding walls and rails. It's rebuilding confidence in the ground beneath your feet, one day at a time. This earthquake in western Japan was a powerful reminder that life can change in seconds. One morning, the ground shakes, the lights sway, trains stop, alerts go off, and suddenly the routine things we trust every day don't feel guaranteed anymore. Buildings can be repaired and tracks can be inspected, but the feeling people remember most is simple and human. That moment when the floor itself isn't stable. If this breakdown helped you understand what happened and why the next few days after a quake matter so much, please like this video, share it, and subscribe. It really helps the channel reach more people who care about real-world disasters, preparedness, and the science behind extreme events. Now we'd like to hear from you. Have you ever felt an earthquake yourself? If the shaking started right now, would you know where the safest place in your home or workplace is? Do you keep an emergency kit or go bag ready? Or is that still on your to-do list? Drop your answers in the comments. Your stories and ideas don't just start conversations, they help others think ahead before they're in the same situation. Whether you live on the West Coast, the Midwest, the East Coast, or anywhere in between, the message is the same. Preparedness isn't fear, it's confidence. Earthquakes don't come with warnings, but your response can be ready. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and take care of each other.